Okay. Um, let's get right to it. Let's get right to it. I do. I do. It's who told you? It really is an impacting show. Have you seen it? Anybody seen it? The Ultimatum?
I've seen all of them, but this last season
It's
was
good. It's a good show. I love it.
Who's on Netflix?
Yeah. This is like the fourth season, Courtney.
Yeah. You know how to watch TV.
Yeah. All right. So, what is an ultimatum?
We have to choose. But you can only have one choice.
What do you mean you can only have one choice?
So you have options.
Right?
You have to make a choice.
Okay. And what is a good reason? All right. So, I think I put the definition there, right? Let's see. Oh, no. Oops. I'm going ahead. That's okay. What is a good, before we get to that, what is a good reason to give someone an ultimatum? Indecisiveness. I like it. What else? Oh, you know what? No, I need to. Oh, what happened to my markers?
Oh, did Julio take them?
I don't know.
Is it? No. Right there? Are they inside there in the cup? On the board?
Let me see. Is it there? Like, what happened to my marker? I haven't been here, so that's what happens when you. Oh, Shani, you could take that out. All right. You said indecisiveness, right? Let's see if I can spell that. All right. So, INDECISIVE, right? All right. What's another reason that you would give someone an ultimatum?
Everyone says double-minded.
Double-minded. Oh, that's indecisive, but I'll rock with it. Okay. And what else? Why else would you give somebody an ultimatum?
Too much conflict.
Too much conflict. Okay, conflict. So there's a problem, right? Okay. What else?
When they can't fix the problem and speak about it.
Communication isn't working.
Communication works, but comprehension.
Who said that? You're on a roll. Comprehension isn't there.
Also be lack of commitment.
Oh, you guys are on a roll today. Lack of commitment. What else? Lack of commitment. Stubborn. Okay. What else? Don't worry about my handwriting. That's why I do everything digital. What else? All right. Has anybody given an ultimatum?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. So, are there any other reasons besides what I've already written on the board? Indecisiveness, double-minded, conflict problem, comprehension problem, lack of commitment, and stubborn.
We do it to our kids to get them to act like laziness.
Laziness. Why laziness? Okay, laziness.
They don't want to do what they told.
Okay. What else? Have you been issued an ultimatum? Anybody? Anybody gave you an ultimatum?
Well, not to take it spiritual, but yeah, God did.
No, not God, not yet. Don't get ahead of me, Terminator. Anybody have you ever been issued an ultimatum? Like, if you don't do this, it's over. Okay.
It has. That means that they told you. Right?
They
And you received
not here.
But it could be
Not here.
Not something that they verbally told you, but yeah, like if you didn't do something and then you see that didn't happen, or you're like
Ultimatums, right? So the question is then, we know all this, but does God give ultimatums? Why? How? When? Don't worry about that. Has God given, not you guys, but biblically, can anybody tell me an ultimatum that was given in the Bible? And don't sneak.
I think he gives us a choice. I don't think it's ultimatum, because an ultimatum is kind of something you can't come back from. But I think only blasphemy.
Yeah, that's blasphemy against the Holy Spirit. There's no going back. But what about anybody else? Anything else? Has there ever been an ultimatum in the Bible? So think about this. An ultimatum is a final proposition, condition, or demand, one whose rejection will end negotiations and cause a resort to force or other direct action.
Okay.
Who? Yes. Why?
Told him that he could have everything except for the forbidden tree.
Or,
Or
well, look it up. Genesis 2:16, 17.
he will die.
Yeah.
He will die.
Yeah. That's a good one.
And God also gave the Israelites an ultimatum.
Yep. What?
And that's why in Exodus it talks about Moses had to intercede for them because God was going to.
Right. Okay. He also gave Pharaoh an ultimatum. That's all. That all starts in Exodus. All right. What about John 8:24? Anybody could add this one? And so I'm taking a page out of Ariel's book because it is a little cutthroat, right? This next verse, but I mean that's what God gave me, and it's not my style of teaching. You're welcome. John 8:24. It's not my style of teaching. I'm not hell and brimstone type of teacher. But this is what the Lord gave me, so I'm just running with it. So somebody read John 8:24.
I told you that you would die in your sins. If you do not believe that I am He, you will indeed die in your sins.
Oh, yeah.
And it does come across a little bit harsh, but the truth is that you will die. Now the question is, will you die physically or spiritually?
Both.
Eventually, it'll turn into both, right?
It's a slow burn.
It's a slow burn. Okay. All right. So this is what it says. Obeying God. Now listen to what I'm saying. There's wordplay on here. There's wordplay. Obeying God is not a mere choice. It's an ultimatum. Obeying God is not a mere choice. It's an ultimatum. Where's the wordplay?
Not a choice.
No.
Say it again.
Obeying God is not a mere choice. It is an ultimatum. Where's the wordplay? Obeying. Because following God is your choice. He gives you that choice. There is no ultimatum. He gives you that choice. We have free will. You can choose to follow him or not.
We're not robots.
We're not robots. Angels have to worship, right? We have the choice to worship. But obeying God, that's not a choice. You either obey me or you don't. We can either obey the gospel and continue in the doctrine of Christ or go to heaven and go to heaven when we die, or we can disobey and be cast into the lake of fire. Again, fire and brimstone, not my style. However, I think that we're coming into an era, now that we're in 25, where it's not even about, how do I word this? Life is happening so fast and people are dying so quickly, right? I mean, within the last year, we've had how many deaths in this church alone, right? So it's not even like, it's kind of like it's do or die type thing. Because the truth is that we're here right now, we might not be here later. That's how real life is becoming, right? It's becoming that real, where before it was kind of like, oh, Jesus is coming soon, but it wasn't, I mean, do you guys get what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't that bad. Like, y'all get what I'm saying? Like, the way things are moving now, you turn on the news, the way things are transpiring, the lack of fear for the Lord is moving so quickly that it's kind of like, if you're not walking with Christ, you're really like wilding out, right? These are the only choices we have been given. I just texted you. Yeah. Simply put, obey God or die. And okay, so you may not die right away. You're not gonna, and listen to me clearly when I say it's not that you stop coming to church, because you can come to church and not obey God and still die. It's about having a relationship with the Lord. Church helps your relationship with the Lord. Coming to church is not your relationship with the Lord. Your relationship with the Lord starts the minute you leave church. The minute you leave this building, every decision that you make afterwards is your relationship with God. Me growing up, and I'm sure many of you, we thought, oh yes, I have a relationship with God. I go to church every Sunday. It's not like that. That's an erroneous teaching, because relationship, if that's the case, then for the ones that have husbands, wives, boyfriends, and girlfriends, do you have a relationship with them because you see them once a week, but you don't speak to them the rest of the week? No, that's not a relationship. A relationship is a day in, day out. So now, here's the gut check. Oh, yeah, we said that already. What excuse have we kept giving God that has kept us from committing to Him entirely? Now, usually gut checks, we don't have to talk about it, but I feel like we should. I feel like we should write them down. Because you guys mentioned Moses, right? And the first thing, he's the king of excuses, but the first thing that he says when God calls him to do what he was made to do, the first thing he says, I can't because I stutter. So it could be very minuscule, or it could be big. What excuse? And I'm not going to tell you what Courtney's excuse is. I'm not going to tell you what Jolie's excuse is. We're going to talk about it collectively. Like, let's be real. What excuse do we give? And it could be dumb. You might think, oh, this is stupid, but it's really what's stopping me. Like, I'll give you one. I had one girl tell me, and I don't think that it's dumb. I think it's a legitimate reason. But the enemy has her tied up because of this. She said that she has not been able to commit to the Lord entirely because oh, come on. She has not been able to commit to the Lord entirely because she believes in the Virgin Mary. I said, so what? She goes, well, and I know we're not supposed to believe in saints, so that's why I won't dedicate my life to the Lord. It sounds dumb, but for her, it's a legitimate reason. So, go ahead, guys, talk to me. What reasons have we given God? Past, present? No times. That's my favorite. Too busy, okay.
I can't commit for 2 hours.
You can't commit for 2 hours. So time. What else?
Not good enough.
Not good enough. What else? Unworthy. What else? Too hard. Oh, too hard? Too hard, can't stop. Can't stop or don't want to stop. That's the difference.
I think it's a can't thing because it's not that you won't, it's that it's hard to stop doing certain.
But do you want to stop?
I think everybody would want to stop sinning. I think everybody sins.
No, we all sin. We all sin. But some of us sin and we like it.
Like smoking is sinning, you know?
Right.
Having sex before marriage is sinning.
But that's what I'm saying. There's sins.
Some sins that we practice as
You want
sports.
to stop having
But do you want? That's what I'm saying. Like, do you know what I'm saying? I know it's a sin, but do you want to stop? We're all adults here, so we're gonna call a spade a spade. Oh, everybody wants to stop, but how bad do you want to stop? Because I'll give you an example. The Lord had called me out, and He said to me, I was like, all right, well, I'm not doing this anymore, so I'm good. And then the Holy Spirit was like, yeah, but when you get mad, you flip out. But because you've always flipped out, you think you're okay. That temptation to get mad and act crazy is a sin. But you're okay with that sin because you've always done it. But when it comes to sex, you're just like, oh, I can't do that. I don't want to do that. I'm not going to do that because then I can't be active in church. Okay, so you're saying no to sex, but you're saying yes to flipping out. And for those of you who know me intimately, you know that I have no problem flipping out. And then not apologizing, which is even worse. So that's a double whammy because, all right, at least if you bug out, then be like David and say sorry. But no, I'll keep walking with my head high like I didn't do nothing. And the Lord's like, so do you want to stop? You don't want to stop because you're too prideful.
We're selective about our sin.
We're selective about our sin. That's what I'm asking. Like, it's not always just sex. It's not always just alcohol, drugs, huh?
You want to sell drugs, like you can stop selling drugs, but then who's gonna get you money otherwise? Like,
Right. So do you really want to stop? No, like we don't want to stop. And the reason why I'm hitting not just the sex, not just the drugs, not just the alcohol, because the church for so many years have only focused on those three sins as if as if there aren't other sins. And so we think, and I say we because I was there, we think, well, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I'm married, so that I'm perfect. And the Lord was like, no, you're not perfect because you still have a nasty attitude. You still respond wrong. You still give dirty looks. You still talk to, you're like, everybody knows what they struggle with. You're still watching pornography. Maybe people don't know it. It's something you like to do in your alone time. You're not hurting nobody, but the Bible says it's wrong.
I think I posted something. I know I posted something. So I'm sorry. Before I forget, I was reading the word, and the word says right in Galatians that quarreling, right,
Fighting,
right, is it's not a fruit of the spirit, right? So obviously it's not good, right? And there's people that, like, for instance, I'm not perfect, guys, but I snap. My husband's like, yo, like, even my daughter, like, you can't talk to you because you snap. And it's just like, that right there is bad because they can't have a conversation with me without me snapping. You know what I mean? So even that is wrong.
right.
So I posted something, and the girl, she was like, because I wasn't doing all the worldly sins that people look at as sins, I didn't think I was sinning until God had to reveal to me that my true sin was like deep hidden in my heart.
Right.
You know? And that brings us back to that. Like, we think of outward sins, like Cynthia had to, like, sex and all these other things. But the truth of the matter is, I have a dirty heart.
There's so many things that.
So you were saying that the church has focused on the
Only
sex, the drugs, and the murder.
The superficial.
Or just like, oh no, you're gay. That's it. You're going to hell. Like, and it's just like,
but what about
that gay person? Right. That gay person is no different than the person who's envious, jealous, and putting people down. Like, it's not. But we cherry pick. So, all right. But back to this. So you don't want to stop. You said sin. All right, sin. That's a good one. What are excuses we've given the Lord? Give me some personal ones that you've.
Can you tell me 4 and 5 because I can't see?
Not good enough, unworthy, it's too hard. Do you want the light? Yeah.
Everyone in the church is like
Fake hypocrites. That's a good one. That's a good one. And okay, you don't commit to the Lord because they're hypocrites. There are hypocrites in the church. Are you right or are you wrong?
You're right.
You're right. Okay, good. I'm glad you said that because you're right. That's justified, right? Okay, well, because that's the truth. We're not gonna sugarcoat it. What else?
I don't want to do this walk because it's too hard.
Well, we got too hard. What else?
You're doing it, Courtney.
I don't want to change.
I don't want to change. Don't want to. Don't want to. And that's a real one. That's a real one. I just don't want to. I don't want to.
I want to, but I'm not ready.
Not ready. That's a good one. What else?
I have to come to him perfect. I'll change when.
There you go.
something not like
Yeah.
Like time the other way.
Yeah,
Friends and family.
Friends. Oh, that's a good one, Crystal. That's a good one. That's a good one. You heard what she said, Jules? She said friends and family. Yeah. And again, is that a legitimate reason? Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Influence or like.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay.
Because she's in a marriage, so she's thinking that it's like, oh,
Yeah,
she's not agreeing with her.
right. So yes, absolutely. Legitimate. Okay. I want you to think about all this. Okay, because that is the gut check. Next one. All right, so quick recap of what we've been doing for the last, and with me, you never know, we'll probably be here for 2 years because that takes forever. A quick recap. We've been studying the disciples. In order to understand what it means to follow Jesus, we must understand there's always a fight. Sometimes we feel like all this fighting, all this controversy, bumps in the road. This can't possibly be the correct path. So here's what we think. We think that because we fall and we get up, this can't be the relationship. This can't be the relationship that I'm supposed to have with the Lord, because we think that when we accept the Lord, when we get baptized, when we take communion, we think that all of a sudden we're not going to have bumps on the road. And we think because we say or we testify or whatever that, okay, now I'm going to do good. But the truth is that relationships are not linear. They're not. They're not. Think about your relationship with your spouse. Let's take spouse out of the equation. Think about your relationship with your kids. Is that linear? You love your kid to death, but sometimes you will just want to knock them the hell out. Right? It's not, in an evil way, but it's a real thing. Let's not even talk about spouse. Right. So the reason why we're doing this over the disciples is because for so many years, again, the church has said that Simon Peter is a saint, Saint Andrew, Saint James, Saint John, Saint Philip. But as the weeks have gone on and we go through the classes, you versus you, Simon fighting against Peter, face off, Andrew hiding in the cut, glass house, James thinking that he could throw rocks as if he don't live in a glass house. John the disciple, the equilibrium, he would go from one extreme to the other. He was either very, very, very holy or very, very, very. Remember that class? And how many of us are like that? One day we are fire for the Lord. The next day I'm going to smack you. I might get locked up. Might hit you with my car. And then the next day I'll go to fasting. Is that real? Okay. Remember last week we spoke about sinners and saints. This word regards the disciples among many other biblical figures as saints. But he called the disciples to follow him, and they did. But they had bumps and they had trials. But due to their obedience. So you see, none of these people are perfect. Every single one of them have a hot mess. And I don't know if you guys have picked your favorite disciple yet. But as I'm going through them, I haven't picked one yet. But I feel like I mostly identify with Simon Peter because he was a hothead. But there's so many different personalities here. All right, but today we're going to talk about Nathaniel Bartholomew, which is the same person. Right. It's the same person. Just sometimes he's called Nathaniel, sometimes he's called Bartholomew. What do you guys know about him? Anybody know anything about him?
That's messed up. No.
No. Nope.
I mean, we're not alone. Like,
I know that's a Bartholomew, but
most of these cats we know very little or nothing.
We don't know them. Anybody know anything about him at all?
Is he the one under the tree?
Yes, he's under the fig tree. Yeah, but
The one under
he's one of the original disciples. What else do you know? Come on, he's got one.
She said no cheating.
No cheating. He's got one line in the Bible that you've probably heard messages upon messages about. He's said one line in the Bible. Anybody? Y'all remember? No? Remember Philip 2-3 weeks ago? All right. Somebody go to John chapter 1. Once you read it, you're going to know. Read 43 to 46. John chapter 1, 43 to 46.
Isn't he the one that said that nothing good comes out of?
That's right. He said, can anything good come out of Nazareth? That's him. That's our guy.
43 to 46?
Yep. Yeah.
I got it. The next day, Jesus decided to go to Galilee. He found Philip and said to him, "Follow me." Now Philip was from Bethsaida, the city of Andrew and Peter. Philip found Nathanael and said to him, "We have found him of whom Moses in the law and also the prophets wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph." Nathanael said to him, "Can anything good come out of Nazareth?" Philip said to him, "Come and see."
All right, so let's rewind. Anybody remember Philip? What was Philip's issue? The class was called God Math. What was Philip's issue? Analytical. Remember, type A personality. He had seen so many miracles God had done. Then there's only $200. He's like, oh, there's only $200. But he was the one that God said to him. Jesus said to him directly, "Follow me." And what was the first thing he did when Jesus said he followed? But what was the first thing he did? No. First thing he does, he follows. He goes and finds somebody and tells them about Jesus. That somebody is Nathanael. So he goes to Nathanael and he tells Nathanael, "We have found him who in Moses and the law, also the prophets, wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph." Nathanael's response is, can anything good come out of Nazareth? So what do we know about Nathanael? Him and Philip were best friends. They were always together. We also know that apparently they must have grown together in biblical studies. So he knew the Old Testament. So an interesting thing about Nathanael is that he's asking, can anything good come out of Nazareth? And he lives in the town right next door to Nazareth. So why are you hating? That's like somebody saying, can anything good come out of Haverstraw? And they live in West Haverstraw. Like, why are you doing that? But why does he say that? Think about it. If he's been studying his word, the Old Testament, he knows the Old Testament. Why would he say, can anything good come out of Nazareth?
Because wasn't it wilding out over there?
Yes. Was fun fact or question, trivia question. Was Nazareth ever mentioned in the Old Testament?
Nope.
Never mentioned in the Old Testament. Nazareth was known for the bottom of the bottoms. So he's thinking, wait a minute. I know who the Messiah is supposed to be. I know what the word says. So how can he be coming out of Nazareth? Like, what is Nazareth? That's why he said that. So here's the thing. Philip says to him, "Come and see." So that teaches us right there that when somebody comes at you skeptical about what you're trying to teach them, we're not to argue with them. We're not supposed to say, "Oh, no, you're wrong, you stupid." Da, da, da. No, he said, "Come and see." That's it. You don't got to argue with people about the gospel. We're not called to argue. All you got to say to them is, "Come and see." Just come and see. So we went through that, right? Why Nathanael says this. But then it also proves something else to us. Jules, I'm going to punch your TV.
It works good for Pastor Julio on Sunday.
I'm trying to be gentle. This is my goal for 25.
It works real smooth.
Wait,
Just get it on
Suave,
tap,
suavecito.
with the fan.
Gentle.
Jesus.
The moment Philip said Jesus was from Nazareth, Nathanael became skeptical that he was the Messiah. Since
Keep hitting it hard.
Since Nazareth was not mentioned in the Old Testament, the Talmud, Midrash, or the contemporary pagan writings, why would the Messiah be born in such an insignificant place? Not even the people in the synagogues of Capernaum or Nazareth itself believed that was possible. Nathanael probably wondered, why would God's own son and savior of humanity choose to take up residence in an uncultured place full of evil, corrupt, and sinful people? Why?
Why was he among thieves and
Why was he born in Nazareth?
He wasn't.
Why does he come out of Nazareth? He was born in Bethlehem, but why does he come out of Nazareth? Why Nazareth?
Nazareth was nothing.
It was an uncultured place full of evil, corrupt, and populated with sinful people. Nathanael simply did not anticipate that anything good can come from there. He was oblivious to the rather obvious fact that he himself had come from an equally contemptible community. See those people that like to point their fingers at us. And then you're just like, wait, aren't you, didn't you? Y'all know those kind of people? They're like, oh, Courtney, but y'all, you in the same boat, right? Nathaniel lived in a society that was prejudicial by temperament. In reality, all sinful people are. We make I can't even say that word. Prejudicial statements. We draw conclusions about individuals, classes of people, and whole societies. Nathaniel, like the rest of us, had that sinful tendency. That is a sin. It's called judgment. A lot of people in the church do it. A lot of people in the church accept it as they do it and don't think it's a sin. It's a sin. It's just as bad as drinking a whole bottle of vodka every single day. It's just as bad. All right, so why Jesus chose Nazareth? 1 Corinthians 1:27.
Isn't it because he's in hiding? Well, his childhood was in hiding.
Yeah, but there was more to that. It was everything God does is on purpose.
Okay. It says,
Listen to this.
instead, God chose things the world considered foolish in order to shame those who think they are wise. And he chose things that are powerless to shame those who are powerful.
So, you know how before when we were talking about the excuses God gives, somebody had mentioned unworthy, somebody had mentioned shame, somebody had mentioned too hard. Remember all that? How often do we feel overlooked, unworthy, unable to be used by God? It's a real question. Like, how often do you feel that in a week? Especially after you maybe cursed your husband out or cursed your wife out or spanked your kid because they acting up. How often do we feel this? Show of hands? Nobody? Just me? Everybody's like, Shani's like, I don't feel that at all. I'm good. No, because nobody's looking at me. Everybody's getting that blank stare.
It's a sign of agreement.
Everybody agrees?
It was a sign of agreement. Like, yeah,
Raise your hand. No, the truth is, this is a real feeling that Christians deal with every single day. And the truth is that the closer we get to the Lord, the dirtier you're going to feel. Why? Because the Bible is like a mirror, and it shows us how filthy we really are. Because prior to even getting into the Word, we thought we were good. How many of you thought that? Like, well, I don't do this, I don't do this, I don't do that. I ain't killing nobody. So, I mean, I'm not that bad. Or if you're anything like me, I'm like, well, I'm not doing what she's doing, so I'm okay. In my head, I say that.
My thing is, I'm a nice person.
I'm a good person. I gave money to the tithe last month.
I'm too aware of myself.
But we become more self-aware once we get into the Word of God. And we think, man, I thought as I was getting closer to the Lord, I would feel better. But the truth is that the closer you get to the Lord, the more humble you should become, because you know that you're not worthy. So if you're reading your Word and you're feeling worthy, something is wrong. Something is wrong.
That's why people don't be picking it up, though.
Come on now, Jazz. Because it's going to tell you the truth. Listen, the best way I could describe it, being a photographer, nothing humbles you more than somebody taking an off-guard picture of you. Because an off-guard picture of you, you're not ready for the picture. And posting it. Okay? Because if it's your friend taking the picture, I know what angle to take you out that'll make you happy. But when somebody takes a picture of you from the side, and you got a little deliciousness here and nothing back here, you're just like, oh. But here's the thing, self-aware. So it's funny physically, but spiritually, a lot of us are not self-aware. We think, like Jazzy said, but I'm a good person. But you see, like, I didn't leave my kids to go to the club. I'm a good mom. Nobody said you're a bad mom. But are you being the best mom? Right? Nobody said you're a bad wife. But are you being the best wife? Not comparison to another woman, comparison into what you should be.
Yeah, but there's no such thing as
You
a
can
perfect
always
man or
work
the
out
perfect
to it.
wife.
There's not. I said the best. I didn't say.
There's no.
You could be. You know what your best version is. We know what our best version could be. You know what we know we're capable of. We know where we can. I know that I should apologize if I hurt somebody's feelings. Like, you're not that delusional. You can't possibly be right all the time. You can't possibly not be the problem if you keep having the same problem with every single person you get with.
And I feel
Right?
like when we start to dissect ourselves, there's a lot of Goliaths that we need to face, and we don't want to face them.
And you posted this. David was able to knock down Goliath, but he wasn't able to knock down Delilah. I sure do. I pay attention. And how real is that? We can conquer demons in one area of our lives, but in another area of our lives, but that's a good example for David, but let's think about ourselves. We can slay demons on one side, but there's a whole other side of us that maybe nobody in this room knows, but you know what you're doing. And I'm not talking about actually physically doing something. You know that mindset. You know those thoughts that are not godly. And they're not even coming from you. They're coming from the enemy, but you're choosing to entertain them. Right? Because if I'm depressed and I'm choosing to entertain the depression, that is a choice that I'm making. Or I could choose to get up. We have that choice. Okay?
Sometimes it's so entertaining, though.
It is. It is. It feels good. It feels good, but it's dangerous. And that's why sometimes we do need our friends to snap us back and say, you need to stop. Like on Christmas Eve when I wanted to feel sorry for myself.
There's a quote that I will never forget. And the quote is, worrying is a thinking, right? And if you come to think about it, it's true. Because if we were to change our mindset, for instance, if I don't pay by tomorrow $3,000, I won't have a car, right? But if I sit here and I start thinking about all the things that I could do to get the money, right? People that will go.
You get desperate enough.
Desperate enough to try to get the money somehow, but the Lord hasn't given me the $3,000, but the Lord gave me a word yesterday, and the word was this: quickly. Because sometimes the Lord speaks to us, but we're so busy worrying about the things that are happening in our lives that we're not.
You missed it. You missed it.
You missed what the Lord is telling you. But look at what the Lord said. He said, if you follow my decree and careful to obey my commands, I will send you the seasonal rain. The land the land will then yield its crops, and the trees of the field will produce its fruit. So what the Lord is telling me, right? The Lord is saying, if you follow me and you obey me and you continue to seek me and not worry about these things, then He's gonna bless me.
And there's one word for you: integrity. Integrity. You know what integrity is?
Doing the right thing even when no one's watching.
Integrity. Integrity. That even if the church doesn't know and would never know, are you still going to do the right thing even when nobody could see you? Are you still going to think the right thing even when nobody knows what you're thinking and nobody would ever find out? But you're so fearful of the Lord that you have integrity and you don't want to offend the Lord. Get what I'm saying? So what happens next? He comes at the Lord like that. oh, how can anything good come out of Nazareth? Philip says, come and see. We may feel like that sometimes. Overlooked, unworthy, unable to be used by God. That's why we don't get close to the Lord. But check this out. This is what's so beautiful about the Lord. John 1, 47, 48. And this is, anchor verses, bless you. Anchor verses? This is one of them. This is one of them that I don't ever want you guys to forget. If you have it, read it out loud.
As they approached, Jesus said, "Now here is a genuine son of Israel, a man of complete integrity. How do you know about me?" Nathanael asked. Jesus replied, "I could see you under the fig tree before Philip found you."
Dude, he literally just said, can anything good come out of Nazareth? That's insulting to the Lord. And yet what does God say? What does Jesus say to him?
A man of integrity.
A man of integrity. Behold, an Israelite, indeed in him is no deceit. What? That don't make sense. Somebody explain it to me. How can Jesus possibly say that about Nathanael when Nathanael just finished saying that nothing good can come out of Nazareth?
Because he didn't say it with malice. He didn't say it. He just said facts.
He said something that he genuinely felt. He spoke his mind.
Yeah,
now, everybody else, we're going to pretend everybody in this room is a Pharisee. We hear this and we're like, oh, how dare you? But you know the beautiful thing about the Lord? That God knows your heart.
Yeah.
Sometimes we say things. Sometimes, Jazzy, we do things. And we are our own Pharisee. We judge ourselves. And we tell ourselves, how dare you go to church after you just was out last night? How dare you go to church when you done did this, and that, and you continue doing it because you like it? How dare you? Who does that sound like? Who does that sound like? Because the enemy does that to us. We mess up because we're going to mess up.
Let me tell you, I used to always judge my husband because he will be in that bathroom. I'm talking about having a conversation and cursing and hitting the wall, and I'm like, who is this man talking to?
And judging him.
And one day I went in, I'm like, who are you talking to? Are you crazy? He goes, I'm talking to the Lord. And I'm like,
how can you talk to the Lord like that?
But you know what?
You can't call it because all you hear is the curses. God knows his heart. God knows your heart, Jasmine. God knows your heart, Crystal. So even though on the outside, everybody's like, I'm just saying, I don't know. I'm just saying, because you're in the hot seat. Anybody who sits there gets in trouble. That's why the seat was empty. Oh, that one, I don't even know. I don't even know why she's going to church. Because si supieran. You know what? Si supieran. Si supieran. Yeah. Si supieran. My daughter was just telling me a story about how somebody was going to come to church that she knew. Her parents told her, don't go to that church because you're going to burn the church down. Her parents told her that. Her parents told her that. Let me say it again. Her parents, not a friend, not a stranger, not a teacher, not her coach. Her parents, the people who gave birth to her, told her, you go to that church, it's going to burn down, and started cracking up. She didn't come because of the amount of shame that she felt in that moment because it was coming from her parents. We cannot call. I can't call it. I can't say, oh, well, they, or she. You can't because you don't know. Not everything that you see is what it is. And perfect example, my daughter posts, we did a deep clean in the kitchen. I hate leftovers. So we went in on that kitchen. We were cleaning the fridge for 4 hours. Jolie, you'd be so proud because I know you're OCD. You'd be so proud. And then my daughter was so happy. She's the one who cleaned it intensely. She posted it and organized it. And she said, and this is a perfect example. She said, Mom, so funny. Mad people hit me up. They said, oh, did you get a new fridge? And I said, nah, we just cleaned it. And she was like, she's giggling to herself, Mom, people ask me if I got a new fridge. If they knew that in that fridge, there's tape on the side holding one thing up. There's another rubber thing on this side holding up. There's crazy glue holding this up. One of the glasses is missing. But you see what we do as humans? We assume because we see it shiny, it's got to be new. We see it shiny, it's got to be perfect. It's got to be good. It's not. It'll never be. But we create our own narrative in our brains about other people. It's a dangerous, slippery slope to do that. Because then the more you do that about other people, the worse you feel about yourself. Meanwhile, you're comparing yourself to Jasmine and saying, oh, yeah, I want to be spiritual like her. Meanwhile, she's over here contemplating how she's going to kill her husband. Example. You know what I love about this class? Because it's the truth. No, it's the truth. We're not going to sugarcoat it. It's the truth. We're not going to pretend, that everybody that comes in here is walking on holy ground. We are human. We are human. We're always going to mess up. Go ahead.
My husband always tells me, stop stressing what you can't control.
Perfect.
And I take that advice all the time.
You can't control it. But what you can do is wake up every morning and say, Lord, I'm going to be real with you. I'm a hot mess and I can't do this without you.
You have to tell the Lord. He knows already.
But he likes to hear it. He wants to hear it. And you need to hear it. Because sometimes we convince ourselves that we're good and you're not. We have to be self-aware. You're not good. Not that you're going to say, damn, I'm not good. No, not like that. But be aware, right? So what happens? He says, behold, an Israelite indeed in whom is no deceit. What does Nathaniel say to him? Yo, how you know me? How do you know me? How many of us are asking God that tonight? How do you know me? How do you know me? Why do you love me? How can you love me? Remember when I was talking about issuing the ultimatums? We're cutthroat. When somebody cuts us, we issue an ultimatum, we're going to cut them. You're dead to me and that's it. And women are even worse than men. Sorry, it's the truth. We are bad. But we issue ultimatums, we cut people, and once we know that they're not about us, we cut them. But here's the thing. God issues ultimatums to us, but it's not because he doesn't love us. It's because he loves us. He can foresee. Exactly. And here we go. Here's another anchor verse for you. Jeremiah 1:5. If you ever deal with insecurity or felt like no one cares, today's promise just for you. Let me remind you today that God knows you. Jeremiah 1:5. Somebody read it. Jeremiah 1:5.
I knew you before I formed you in your mother's womb. Before you were born, I set you apart and appointed you as my prophet to the nations.
That is insane. That he knew you were going to mess up. And I had a kid, your brother actually, Amy, Chris, told me one time. He goes, well, so what's the point of coming to church that he knew I was going to mess up? I said, that's the gospel. That's the gospel, that even though you know I'm going to mess up. You know I'm going to be unfaithful. You know I'm going to turn my back on you. And yet God still says, before you were even in your mom's womb, I knew you. What is our problem? We can't accept that kind of love. One, most of the time is because we've never received that kind of love from our parents, because they say the mother's love is simultaneous to God's love. But the truth is that in the day and age that we're living in the culture, we may not have received that love from our mom or our dad. So we don't know that kind of love. So if you've never had that kind of love, it's very hard. It's like having a dog that got mistreated all the time. Smacked around. When the good owner comes to love on that dog is not going to love you. That owner has to have extreme patience to win the trust. God has that extreme patience. God is saying, stop running from me because you keep messing up. Because the further you run from me, the more you're going to mess up. Run towards me. And then Nathaniel says in verse 49, Rabbi, You are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel. In that moment, all his prejudice, it went out the window. He was just like, oh, shoot. You are the real deal. In Nathanael's case, this would become especially evident. He was able to recognize Jesus clearly and instantly because he had a clear understanding of what the scripture said about him. Nathanael knew that the promises said, so he recognized the fulfillment when he saw it. He knew him of whom Moses and the prophets had written, and he recognized Jesus as the one after the briefest conversation with him. Nathanael sized him up quickly and received him on the spot. The reason that was possible was because Nathanael had been such a diligent student of the scripture. What does that mean for us? That even if maybe you haven't encountered God the way you want to, keep studying. Keep studying in your alone time, because then the pieces are going to add up. You ever study during the week the Bible, and then you come to church and they're preaching about the same thing, and you're just like, that gotta be a coincidence. That ain't no coincidence. You've been connecting with the Lord, and the Lord is confirming what you've been connecting with the Lord about. But if you haven't spoke to the Lord all week, and then you come on Saturday and Julio's preaching, there ain't going to be no confirmation because you haven't been talking to him. We need to do our due diligence. Jesus answered and said to him, because I said to you, I saw you under the fig tree, do you believe? You will see greater things than these. And he said to him, most assuredly I say to you, hereafter you shall see heaven open, angels of God ascending and descending upon the Son of Man. What we do know about Nathanael is that he was faithful to the end because he was faithful from the start. Everything he experienced with Christ and whatever he experienced after the birth of the New Testament church ultimately made him stronger. And Nathanael, like the other apostles, stands as proof that God can take the most common people from the most insignificant places and use them to his glory. Nathanael took time to meditate on spiritual things. He was under the fig tree thinking about God. This shows he was concerned and seeking after God. Nathanael did not react with credulity to Philip's news. He did not uncritically accept what Philip said without question. Nathanael also did not react with blind prejudice. He did not dismiss Philip's news outright without consideration. Nathanael tested what Philip said against scripture. He noted that the Messiah was prophesied to come from Bethlehem, not Nazareth. Though his conclusion was wrong, his method was right. The Lord knew Nathanael even before Philip called him. The Lord knows us directly and personally. The Lord knows all about us, our desires, our longings, our prayers, and everything. The Lord is concerned for us and interested in us. He encourages us even in our smallest moves towards him. This was my favorite. The Lord is patient with us and willing to answer our questions. He knows we are imperfect and leads us on. We should ask ourselves if we desire to know God above all. Do we spend time meditating on him? Do we know that God knows us? Do we know that God is dealing with us, drawing us to himself? Do we know that? So we go back to this. What excuse have we kept giving God that has kept us from committing to him entirely? Are we willing to commit ourselves entirely to Christ in 2005? Sorry, wrong year. That was a good year, actually. Sorry. 2005 was a good year. And I was skinny. That was a good year. All right. Matthew 16:24. Then Jesus said to his disciples, whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves, take up their cross and follow me. Now, this sounds really harsh. It does. And I was meditating on it while I was in the shower, and I said, how do I say that? Because that's like an ultimatum. That's like a little scary ultimatum. But this is what the Lord told me. I said, commit. I didn't say I want perfection. I said, commit. Commit means that I'm going to try every single day. And so I was thinking about this. And when people get married, and I've been literally thinking about this because I've been married before and divorced. I don't want to get married and divorced again. So I've really been thinking about this. What is it when people get married, and this is the part that nobody really cares for while they're getting married? Well, maybe just me because I'm taking the pictures. I'm like, kiss already so we can get on to the next thing. But here are the vows that are typically in all weddings. I take you as my spouse. The speaker promises to be faithful to their partner in good times and bad. To have and to hold. This phrase signifies a new beginning and promise of exclusivity. For better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health. This vow highlights a commitment to supporting each other through life's ups and downs. And then the last one is till death do us part, right? God is asking us today to make a vow before him. It's like a marriage. He knows you're not going to get it right every time. But he's asking you, are you willing to try? Because if you're willing to try, that's all that matters. That's what he means by commit or walk away. Because as I told Cynthia, we can commit, but sometimes we just don't want to. That's the truth. It's just literally, what's your excuse? I just don't want to. Have you ever been there? You just don't feel like it. You got like this little bitter thing going on. Yeah, y'all ever been mad at God? You ever been mad at God? You got a little bitter thing going on? Well, I'm not gonna follow you because I don't feel like it. I've gotten mad at God. I've said that to God. I don't care. And I'm gonna leave Good Shepherd, and I don't care. And I'm not gonna pray, and I'm not gonna read the Bible, and I'm not gonna listen to worship music. I don't care. And I'm gonna put some reggaeton on real ratchet. That's my rebellion. As far as I can go in that sense, right? I was just joking. But here's what the Lord told me though. But look at that last part of vows till death do us part. But the Lord was like, you got to fix that. Till death do us part. And I was like, but Lord, he said, because that's with humans. With me, it ain't till death do us part. Because when death comes is when we unite. So I was like, that makes sense, right? So I forgot to change this part. But are you guys willing to do a vow before the Lord? I'm not going to have no ceremony. You're not going to stand up here and say, I vow like a wedding. We're not doing that. This is a personal walk with the Lord. And so, no, you know me, I need to be visual. So in every single one of these boxes, there is a ring because ring signifies forever. Then your girl ain't got money to buy you a real ring, so I got you a fake one. But that don't matter. The idea is still there. Ring. It's just a symbol. And again, this is very personal. This got nothing to do with me. This got nothing to do with Tiffy. This is between you and God. And you don't have to wear it. And my mom was like, that little thing ain't even gonna fit half their fingers. I was like, it's the idea, Candy. Come on. But it's a symbol to remember that, Lord, I'm making this vow with you. I'm not gonna say that I'm perfect because that's the truth. When I get married, that's gonna be part of my vows. Like, I'm not perfect. God knows I'm not. But I'm gonna try. And effort goes a long way. Especially with the Lord, because you can have effort in your heart, but your partner don't see it because your partner can't see your heart. But God sees your heart. So even when you fall flat on your face and you feel like, yeah, I really messed up, ask the Lord for forgiveness and move on. Don't stay there. Don't stay there. Well, of course we do. We do. And we stay there, and then the enemy really gets into our head. And I'm going to be real honest with you. All right, so you guys can come get these. Hold on a second. These are the big ones for my people with chubby fingers, and for everyone else. If you want one, you could take it. Guys, hold on. It really is just, I don't want to say it's like black or white, but I don't want to say it's black and white, but at the end of the day, it's a decision.
Right, like people need to learn how to walk away. That is hard. Like to walk away.
It is hard.
They're not gonna commit. And people don't make that choice because, like I said, it's a choice, right? And the bonds,
Yeah.
So look, 10.5. You 10.5.
I'm a 10, 11. Why? You got that for me?
So
You gonna bless me?
if you want it.
All right. Well, hold on.
Yeah.
So, and again, like I said, this seems very black and white, and it could be a little intimidating. It could be, you listening, Jasmine? It could be a little intimidating because it's like, oh, well, I don't want to say that I'm going to commit and then I'll mess up. That's not what I'm saying. And when I was meditating on this, the Lord told me to tell y'all, it's not that you're not going to mess up. What you're saying by I'm going to commit, it means that you're going to try your best to do what you need to do. Nobody's going to be clocking you. But we know when we're giving 100 and we know when we're not. Yes. Did y'all, everybody know? Everybody's kind of like skeptical. I don't know. No, there's big ones. These are the big ones. This is big. You don't got to put it on your ring finger.
This is a small.
So this is a small bag. That's the big bag. Yeah. I was actually gonna get y'all like real rings, but it wasn't too expensive. But it was gonna take forever, and I was like, it's gonna make the point of my class. Yeah, of course. You can take a few, Crystal. You want for every?
Everyone, you walk right here with your
Shelly, you didn't take a ring? Commit a walk. You got it?
I need a bigger size.
The big ones are right here. It's just the idea of it. You know what I'm saying? I'm a visual person, so sometimes I need